Oh, look, Don Jr. decided to make a hilarious meme shirt out of an innocent woman's tragic death and profit from it. This isn't vile at all.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty.
Herdy her, you get it? 'Cause Alec Baldwin liberal bad. Ha ha ha.
Yeah. I don't like this, dude. I know what this is. So it says, hey, dude, I hate this so much. You know what? And the last video we just watched goes along with this too. Is that Halia Hutchins, and I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Next project was a documentary on Hollywood, pedo rings. The director of photography, killed by Alec Baldwin, was attached to the controversial upprint. So this is promoting the conspiracy theory that her life was taken because she was going to work on something that would expose Hollywood. And it's very annoying because the video that we just watched, right, was even part of this, is that there are people who are trying to profit off of like a tragedy in somebody's life. Right, this tragedy, and everybody's doing it. Everybody is doing it across the board. There are people who are talking about pushing gun right legislation at this time. There are people who are doing this, and my perspective is obviously we need to have a better handle on how prop guns work, because prop guns could be completely fake guns, or they could just be real guns without bullets in them. That's it. Now, apparently the story, my understanding, is that it was actually loaded with a real bullet. I don't know how much is or isn't confirmed. It's difficult to figure out, fully. You know what I mean? There's a lot of noise going on. But my thing is we really, the real focus is that we shouldn't be letting Hollywood use real guns as prop guns. I feel like that's not an unreasonable standard. I feel like there's better ways to do this. If people are like, oh, what about that? It might not be realistic. I don't care. You want to know what? Normal people don't even understand what a fucking realistic gunshot is anyway. You understand that? That's a real thing. We're all dumb. We don't know what a gun looks like when you fire it. You absolutely can say, you can absolutely do CGI, whatever. We have access to it. If your excuse, oh, it doesn't look real. Well, you know what? Someone died, so I don't care what you think. If it ruins the movie for you that the gun doesn't look 100% real, touch grass. Get a fucking life. I don't know what I want you to tell you. But there are people who are promoting conspiracy theories, and they don't even make sense, right? So the person before this, or that we looked at right after this, was like, oh, look at this, guys. Now, I don't know if they specifically supported it themselves. They didn't say anything here whatsoever. It sounds like they're like, oh, guys, maybe this is real. A woman was killed, and I feel like this isn't the energy that we should be exuding right now. This just seems to be, hey, I want some views on TikTok, and they got 100,000 views on it. I'm going to assume they got 300,000 views on it. Yeah, look at that. The game is rigged, so I'm going to assume that they support it. Whether they do or don't is irrelevant, because there are people who think it's true. Here's my thing: from a conspiracy perspective, why would you try to take out the fucking photography director of a movie? It's not like the director, or it's a photography director. It's not the producer or anything. It doesn't even make sense logically. Most conspiracy theories, well, none of them do. But it's just disgusting. People need to stop trying to profit in some capacity. Whether it's this is social capacity. You're trying to socially profit, whereas the other person that Rinstar was talking about, this is Donald Trump Jr. is trying to profit off of it, financially or even socially. This is disgusting. People just don't care to be sensitive in any capacity anymore, and I find it's gross. I understand talking about the topic of hey, here's something that happened, this is fucked up, but now we're trying to profit off of it. Why? Because to me, this, do you think it's funny that she died? Because, why else would you belittle it? This, to me, is hey, let's put it on a shirt. It'll be funny. What other reason? There's no social statement to be made here by an accidental killing. This isn't a social statement. So you're making a joke. You're just criticizing Alec Baldwin. Like she said, I'm assuming it's because he's progressive. And let me just be honest. Alec Baldwin doesn't seem to be the greatest guy, from what I've heard. I haven't looked into specifically, but this isn't the time to do that. Not in this way. It's just stupid. And it's pathetic, and I think it needs to be called out.
So a lot of people have been wanting to hear my take on the incident on the set of the movie Rust. Okay. And I've been a little hesitant because I didn't want to make speculations. There wasn't much information, and I really wanted some more information to come out. Now there have been some court documents released, and I believe I can discuss the protocols that were breached, which led to the firearm killing cinematographer Helena Hutchins and injuring director Joel Souza. For starters, my heart goes out to the Hutchins family, Joel Souza, and the entire crew. So one thing that's bugging me from all the articles is they keep talking about a misfire. Misfire 3 days before the incident. The incident was a misfire. Well, a misfire is when a gun doesn't fire. If what actually happened would be accidental discharge. First and foremost, most important protocol is no live ammo on the set. No live rounds. A live round is a cartridge with a slug in it, a bullet that can kill someone. It appears that rule was breached. And next, once you have your cart set up with your guns, you do not leave it unattended. You always have someone with their eyes on it from your department. From what I've read, the first assistant director walked outside of the set to the weapons cart and grabbed one of 3 weapons that were sitting there on a cart that was unattended. That's a breach. And
so this guy is a film and TV prop master. Okay. And he's verified on TikTok, so he's like a real deal.
And protocol is the first AD grabbing a gun. No one should grab a gun except the armor or the prop master. They were using Western revolvers. And when we do that, we use real revolvers. And we use blanks for when there's gunfire. And then we use dummy rounds. You shake them, there are BBs inside where black powder normally would be. It's my understanding that it was a close-up on Alec Baldwin's revolver. Allow me to prop as he pulls it out of his holster and cocks it as he's pointing it at the camera. And since the camera's looking right down the barrel of the revolver, you've got to have dummy bullets in the cylinder. And if you're following protocol, you would take your dummy rounds into the set with an empty gun. You go to the first assistant director, clear the gun first. You run a rod through the barrel to where they see the orange tip come out the other end of the barrel. They know that it's clear. Then you show them all the cylinder holes. They're empty. The gun is clear. Hand the dummy rounds to the assistant director, and he shakes each one. He hears the BBs, hands you a round, you put it in the gun, the same way for all 6. It's ultimately on the first assistant director to confirm that that gun is safe. But none of that happened. The first AD grabbed the gun.
You're saying, like, where was the armor and prop master? Okay.
The car goes inside, hands it to Alec Baldwin, and says, cold gun. And unfortunately, you probably know the rest. And again, my heart goes out to everyone involved in this tragedy.
Yeah, that was obviously...
Gotta have dummy bullets in the cylinder. And if you're following protocol, you would take your dummy rounds into the set with an empty gun. You go to the first assistant director, clear the gun first. You run a rod through the barrel to where they see the orange tip come out the other end of the barrel. They know that it's clear. Then you show them all the cylinder holes. They're empty. The gun is clear. Hand the dummy rounds to the assistant director, and he shakes each one. He hears the BBs, hands you a round, you put it in the gun, the same way for all 6. It's ultimately on the first assistant director to confirm that that gun is safe. But none of that happened.
I'm assuming with the dummy rounds, like the rounds are there, so it's a revolver, so it looks like it's loaded, so you know there's bullets in there. So you put, I guess, BBs instead of gunpowder, so they're inactive. That's my understanding. Yeah, I mean, I think this was the best account from anybody that we could ever get. This is a literal prop master. Yeah, I mean, there's literally nothing to add there because this guy knows what the fuck he's talking about. Obviously, though, that shouldn't. There was a massive breach in protocol. This is a fucking huge problem. You know, that you just don't follow the protocol, and I don't know why. I don't know why they feel comfortable not doing that. It's obviously very terrible and sad.